things off here. Coast 1-0 up here in this series over on the right-hand side. Riven, Kassadin, and Ziggs hit the bin there for TWZ, and Gragas and Nidalee going to be the next few bans there for Coast.
We're right into this, and I like how Coast is so heavily targeting Bishu right now, because Coast, a lot of the time, is all about Shifter. Even though it was about WizFusion the last game, Shifter is the one who generally makes the plays for their team.
Yep, and Dr. Mundo, the last ban out there for Coast. Instant first pick Sivir there coming out for TWZ.
That's very interesting, because Sivir was actually banned in the first matchup, and it's actually Coast who's taking Thresh away from Nidus Remain.
Yeah, and it was interesting because one of the things Doublelift kind of pointed out was that he doesn't seem to like Nidus's Thresh all that much. I mean, we know it's a big champion for Daydream, and so maybe he just wanted to pick it up, but it's an interesting pick. It had a lot of different options. I mean, I guess Lucian at this point is probably still open, but
yeah.
Shyvana Thresh, a lot of teams talk about getting 2 OPs on the other side. That's
exactly.
not necessarily 2 OPs.
No, I don't think so. I think Thresh right now is a very utility-focused support, and I don't think Nidus Remain's Thresh was bad in the last game. I actually do think it's a wise choice to pick it away from him.
Yep, so other champions getting considered here as well. We'll see what happens, but I mean, Nintendo, we talked about it before, played a great Olaf in Game 1. I mean, unfortunately, you guys may have missed some of that, but if you need a refresher course, just did a whole lot of work here. So interesting blocker picks here, I think, available for the Walking Zed, but they got to think carefully here because they got a lot of work to do here at this point. 0-1 down's not too bad in a best of 5, but
no.
You don't want to lose any more games.
Hey, they at least have had a whole lot of time to reset and really think about what they want to do. And with those first 3 picks, they have a speed composition at this point. Olaf will be able to stick to targets because they can speed up so much with what Karma and Sivir are going to be bringing.
Yeah, I mentioned it yesterday. I was talking to Crumbs actually before the games were starting, just before the games yesterday. They actually said they've seen a lot of Sivir, Olaf, and Karma in solo queue and just in scrims. It seems really, really good here. So we'll have to see. I mean, haven't seen Karma for a little while, but if there's a comp where you could make Karma work, it's this one.
I know. The last time I actually saw Karma was when Dignitas played it against Alliance. It was the I'm a Cutie Pie Kiwi Kid lane. Didn't go well, but I still think it's a good lane. Only because Karma has such just incredible poke early on at level 1. If you just mantra your Q up against a Thresh, you can stare him in the face as he hooks you and actually win that trade. It's very smart since Walking Zed wants to get control of that lane in the 2v2 early.
Yep, so next few picks here for Coast coming out. Elise and Varus, actually their next few picks. And Varus, a champion we've seen very little of, but who seems surprisingly good.
I'm really surprised about the Varus pick with Lucian on the board. I've seen WizFusion play so much of the 3 what is considered OPs right now, Sivir, Lucian, and Jinx, and then the fact that he just went straight for the Varus means they have something else planned here.
Yeah, we'll have to see him in Varus, a great lane bully. He's good against so many of even these aggressive carries that people like to play, but Sivir could be a little awkward with Spell Shield, Chain of Corruption interactions, but last few picks here do come out here. Renekton and Orianna were the last 2 for the Walking Zed. That feels like comfort.
And here's what I see. The Walking Zed has so much speed on their composition. They got Sivir, Orianna, and Karma that can all just boost up the tank. So that's what they're going to be looking to do, is just Zerg into Coast. But because Coast knows that the Walking Zed has so much, they get stuns and lockdown. They don't necessarily have the slows as the Death Sentence or the Verisalt or the Ahri Charm or the Elise stun, and they're going to lock them down. They don't care about how fast they're moving as long as they can get the stuns. I think that's why they would have picked the Varus, to just combo with everything else.
Yeah, and you mentioned Ahri there. We've noticed that we're talking to High actually from Cloud9. Those sort of assassin champions have fallen away a little bit here. So what do you think of that last pick there for Shifter there onto that Ahri?
Hey, Shifter was always one of the people who played Ahri before anyone else in North America. And oftentimes those are the ones that can get away with picking the champions even after they lose popularity. The big thing that happened to Ahri is more emphasis got placed onto the charm. If Shifter doesn't land the charm, he can't combo his damage, which is why I like the rest of the Coast composition, because he doesn't actually have to shoot it blind. He can wait for another stun to land, then charm, and then spike them.
And one thing I do really like about this pick is that it really suits Shifter's style as a roamer. Ahri is still a very strong assassin, still good in skirmishes, good in tight corners, good in ganks, so I think we're going to see a very similar style once again from Coast.
Absolutely. 1UP, they have a much different composition though.
They do.
So I definitely have to credit the Walking Zed in champion selection just for getting Coast on such a different style of team composition. The first game, for those of you that remember, Coast had a whole bunch of AoE damage. This game, it's all about the lockdown.
Yep, so we will have to see. We're going to get into the second game here between these 2 teams. Team Coast 1-0 up, looking to get back into the LCS. The Walking Zed, the challenger team, are looking to get in there themselves. And Jat, Currently, the LCS teams are 1-0 up here in promotion series, but of course, TWZ would love to change that if they could. So at level 1, we are going to move out here. Pretty similar Trinket start we see from Game 1 as well.
Yeah, this time it looks like Daydreamin still starting with the red Trinket. In the first one, they actually managed to get wards on both the red and the blue buff of the Walking Zed. And they're going to want to sweep once they're on top of one of them just to check if they walk through a ward. But of course, there's that internal cooldown on the Trinks that comes out early. There's a fight.
Oh, there's a big level 1. His Zion Spartan in trouble there, taking a bunch of damage from Boomerang Blade. The Ignite on there as well. He's going to flash, but he does die. Renekton picking up first blood there in that one. Now Daydreaming going to take damage as well. Nidasu Man over the top with the Karma. Damaging as Boomerang Blade comes through for the second kill as Kez will pick that one up. Now Wiz Fusion in trouble. Varus forced to flash out there after getting exhausted, and Damage still moving in. I think he's going to get away, but 2 clean kills there for TWZ.
And how's that for a start after that long of a delay? They went for the same invade they did in the first game. They tried to go for the red buff, and check this one out. They had no idea they were in that brush, but they didn't even walk in together. It was 2 people ahead of the rest of the pack, so once they got jumped, they had no way of following up their damage.
And Zion, unfortunately, wasting his flash in there as well, still dying there. You can see Daydream just on the end there. Thankfully, for Coast, everyone else able to get out of the way. But the Walking Zed in that break had to have felt down after Game 1 here. No better way to bounce back your momentum than getting 2 clean kills at level 1.
And now we really get to see if Coast can bring it on after that one, because they know how to play from ahead. That's why they went 26-2 in the NACO, because they could consistently get leads and then capitalize on them. They also like to play like they're ahead when they're behind. So will the Walking Zed be able to punish them for Coast's aggression? Because a lot of times when a team just continually comes at you, you just start believing them, like they're going to be able to beat you. Walking Zed has to call their bluff.
Yeah, I mean, remember, these players can't see what we can see as spectators, what you guys can see at home. So you have to kind of guess and get a feel for how far ahead you are. And if your opponents are playing like they're ahead, you're going to be scared there. And we've seen that from Coast here as Nidasu Man. Not quite in the right spot there. Zion Spartan going to move in. Nintendo Dex coming in as well, but I don't think he has Cocoon up yet, so not going to throw out the stun.
Nintendo Dex can't realistically hold this buff if Bobby Hankill comes up to support. At the moment, Sivir's just getting free farm in that bottom lane while they contest this. It's because Nintendo Dex ran over for his blue buff while he didn't have his AD carry and support to help him. What normally a jungler would do is you just go for the enemy blue buff, because this is too easy for the Walking Zed to contest. And
I really like this here. Just a lot of pressure from the Walking Zed. You don't necessarily have to actually take this. You can just see they're wasting so much time here. And as you said, Sivir's continually pushing. Izuki in the top lane getting low, but that's a cannon minion, not the Renekton he would have wanted with that death sentence.
This is a really curious setup right now. Zion Spartan is yet to arrive in lane. He just left to go down bottom. And there's no way Nintendo Dex can get this unless he wins a Smite War against Kez and Nidasu Man.
They are the same level, so we'll have the same amount of damage on Smite here.
They want to dive him.
Yeah, they really want to. I mean, Yuzuki knowing this, good going back there with the Q and actually healing a little bit up there as Nintendo now in trouble as well. No repel either to get out of this potentially.
He did get the blue buff though.
I did see that. He has both buffs there just under his feet.
Yeah, so savvy play by Nintendo Dex. That is a difficult and almost bad situation to be in, but he came out of it, and that's going to end up punishing Kez for spending so much time on that invade.
Yeah, known for a lot of level-headed smites and clutch smites, his Nintendo comes out ahead there, and a very interesting back and forth there, but a beautiful bit of pressure from the Walking Zed will still give Nintendo over his blue buff.
And what should happen now is they should go immediately for Kez's blue buff, and the AD carrying support should help him. At the moment, Nintendo's going on a solo mission, but Kez doesn't have a way of getting this if Varus and Thresh come out and help.
Doesn't mean
they're not helping.
I mean, doesn't have a good way of fighting at least 1v1 generally. Oh, Yuzuki rotating down. That's bad news. Nintendo could be in trouble. Bichu's coming as well. The repel is going to come in. That's going to buy time. Lantern out there. Very nice evacuation.
I really wonder why Thresh and Varus didn't come over earlier, because they could have completely outnumbered Kez and denied him his blue buff. Instead, they get some free time in lane, and both junglers are able to pick up blues.
Yeah, I agree. Nintendo's actually going to rotate up towards the top instead now and see what he can get done in terms of pushing power. Freak talked about it at the desk, but Nintendo loves to come into the lanes and just not only get his tax on, get a bit of extra farm, but really pressure these towers as much as he can. And Coast have gotten a lot of their wins and a lot of their advantages in so many of their games, just really pressuring turrets early.
Yeah, and one thing we definitely have to remind people of in the 3.1 patch with the preseason, that 2 kills that Coast gave up to the Walking Zed were only worth 60% the gold they would have been worth in Season 3. So it's not as detrimental or devastating as it used to be, and Coast is going to look to come back from it.
Yep, Zion Spartan down the bottom here, just happily 1v2ing a Shyvana, taking a lot of damage actually, but as long as he holds his tower for a reasonable amount of time, he's not going to be too unhappy with how that's going here. It's a bit awkward as Shyvana with such great wave clear to try and clear kind of under a turret when you're getting attacked by ranged champions, but you do what has to be done.
Especially because Karma has some of the best on-turret harass of any support. If she mantras her Q, it not only has long range, but it also has sustained threat since it will explode again and will just keep Shyvana off turret for an extended period of time.
So a bit of a race here for the first turret. Looks like TWZ may actually win this one here. We've got Karma and Sivir really laying into this turret. In fact, Zion, he bailed altogether. He went back to base, decided to buy a Doran's Blade actually, so that's how it is going to go down there, and the Walking Zed going to continue some early game advantages.
Yeah, fantastic start. Now they might try 2v2 up top. They can land a few skill shots.
Good play. They're actually slow there as well from Varus with the hail of arrows going down, the Lantern being pulled out. And I have to say, one of the things I love being paired with Thresh are non-mobile AD carries.
Yeah, because it gives you the mobility that you so desperately desire, and that's exactly how WizFusion was able to get out of that one. They spread out, and then that allowed them to make the escape.
Yep, so really nice little evacuation once again there for Coast. We've got lots and lots of people roaming through for TWZ now. 3-man push in the mid as Nintendo kind of forced to just come in and try and clear out some of these waves, and as good as Elise is in a siege, not good in a counter push situation.
No way she can wave clear. Ahri, though, with that Orb of Deception, can wave clear fairly well. Nidus remains still only level 3, so that's not actually a push. It's going to grant them too many rewards, and it does allow Zion Spartan a little bit of push time himself. I think that was a bit of a misguided roam there by TWZ.
Yeah, Shyvana, a very strong pusher. You can see pushing the wave all the way back to the turret, and even getting a bit of turret damage done in there as well as Kez up towards the top lane. Is going to back off now. WizFusion a little low here, puts his trinket down as well, knows the jungle is gone, so Yuzuki back to 1v2.
And Yuzuki survived that actually pretty well, when you consider everything.
So farm is continuing here for both ADs, very even there, so no real advantages from the 2v1 lanes here. Everyone kind of keeping up in the top laners as well. Renekton and Shyvana pretty close for that one, and pretty big farm difference, interestingly enough, for Nintendo in the jungle. He's actually ahead of Olaf right now.
Yeah, I think so much of that has to do with that back and forth they had in Nintendo's blue buff when he was able to secure his blue and then at least put harassment onto Kez's. It would actually have set Kez far behind in gold if he hadn't picked up that first blood. Because Kez picked up that first blood, despite the mini disadvantage, he still is even in gold with Nintendo.
And Nintendo doing what he loves, covering the lanes here, pressuring them off. And now Shifter has returned to lane here. Fiendish Codex for him going to be probably a quick DFG coming out. Top lane as well. Bit of pressure here from the Walking Zed, but we're going to have movement here as Thresh and Varus are going to move their way back up to the top to defend.
Yeah, and they're actually using Nidus Remains Karma as a roamer right now. It's a 1v1 in the bottom lane between Bobby-Enkill, Sivir, and Zion Spartan Shyvana. I actually like that play right now because Bobby-Enkill will be able to clear the wave. It will, however, let Zion Spartan free farm a little bit, so Karma has to make plays happen.
Yeah, and there's a great shot there. Shifter going all the way in onto Kez. The damage moves in there, and a very clean roam kill. Shifter, we talked about it, Jad. It's starting.
If he lands the charm, Ahri still does a whole bunch of damage, and that's exactly what he was able to do. Coast sits around for a while, and then Shifter makes a play. That's really just textbook Coast.
I mean, yeah, it sounds a little funny, but that's how they've played a lot of their games here. Shifter often puts the team on his back, with their help, to be perfectly honest. And the Walking Zed going to have to dig deep here as Nintendo's poking around the jungle. Maybe bit off a little too much, so Nidus the main hanging out. Bishu in there as well. He's forced to run out now. He's getting slowed down by Karma. The snare lands in there as well. Forced to flash there, and Shifter's there to cover. Oh, Nidus over the top, but a great repel.
I like how Nintendo waited a little while because he was also waiting for Shifter to get a little closer, and because he needed the minion wave to repel to after the flash. If he would have flashed over immediately, when they flash followed, he wouldn't have been able to repel to a minion wave. It was pretty clever.
Very aware play from Nintendo Dex here. He's going to go over, donate the blue buff off to Shifter. He's going to pick it up on his Ahri and be very happy with that. And we kind of mentioned it before, Shifter's such a strong roam player, and obviously going for the DFG, most likely here with the Fiendish Codex. His roam already looked good, 1v1 up against that Olaf, but if he gets the DFG, especially early on, as the top tower's going to fall as well, that's really bad news for the Walking Zed.
Yeah, but Coast needs to definitely worry about this mid lane following a little bit. While Shifter did pick up a roam kill, he's fallen a little bit behind in farm from Bishu. A lot on his shoulders right now, I'd have to say, for Shifter.
And I think it's a stark contrast in junglers here as well. We've seen Nintendo Dolph, he's played it for so long, but he's really feeling for wave clear that he's used to having as a jungle player.
Yeah, it's hard to go and support lanes as an Elise, but he has been able to pick up a lot of experience because he's been sitting next to a lot of dying creeps and then still jungling fairly quickly. It's a level 7 Nintendo Dex who, despite putting himself in some very risky situations, hasn't died yet. So he's made some clutch escapes, and that 2 kills that Coast gave up early are about to be erased if we look at the actual scoreboard, because they're only 500 gold behind.
Yeah, really nothing between these two teams right now as Nidus Homemain continuing to roam here in the mid, just put pressure on lanes. You called it a roamer before. I think that's a great way to put it, Jat. And it's funny, just you talked about the poke and the harass with her Q for Karma. Great wave clear in there as well, if you really want to come in and shove. It's funny, he's almost doing Nintendo's job that he would normally do from the jungle.
He's just trying to be a roaming wave pusher, but it hasn't worked. They haven't gotten turret advantages for it, and they've allowed Zion Spartan back into the game. I actually think if they could have just continued to roam with Bobby and Nidus, they could have gotten some turrets down, but they just mismanaged their resources.
Team sniffing around the first dragon a little bit here as well. Shibza double buffs looking very deadly on his Ahri as Nintendo put the pink ward down. He's kind of like, team, where are you? Wanting to make sure they can try and get this done, but both those duo lanes are now down in the bottom lane here, so if it does happen, it's going to be contested.
Yeah, back in game 1, Coast got a dragon around 13 minutes while they were really far ahead, and you normally wouldn't go for a solo dragon unless you were ahead. But this is Coast playing like they have a lead, and Nintendo got that dragon real low before they check it.
Oh, he's going to get it, and that's a really sneaky play there from Coast. Nintendo going to pick up the first dragon, and I was going to say, what sort of advantage can you really translate so much experience and farm from an Elise into? And Nintendo finds a really creative solution. Yeah,
might as well just go and do a dragon if the lanes aren't gankable, because Coast had been sitting a little bit on the back foot in a lot of these lanes. Smart, heady player there. They've been around for a while, too. This is some of the Coast experience coming in. They've lost a lot of games to learn how to win them.
I mean, you said experience. I think that's the biggest thing we're going to see all throughout these promotion series is a lot of these challenger teams don't have as much experience as these LCS teams, and we're really going to see that here. The teams that are able to dig deep and work together, I think are going to be the ones that will make it through promo. And right now, both teams in a very close game. We'll see if Coast's experience can pull them through. Apparently, there's enough to defend that mid turret with just a sliver of health.
Just barely. You can see Shifter is just using all of his spells on recharge to try and clear those things out. He's not even trying to time all of his last hits because the only thing that matters to him is the actual health on that turret. And knowing Bishu has a blue buff means it's very hard for Shifter to push back.
Yeah, getting close to that DFG though, picks himself up. I need to see Large Rod. Kez here, going to roam in the mid, doing his best. Intended impression, Bishu could be in trouble. The all-in will come through, and Shifter doesn't quite have a great flash there. Moves it again with a Spirit Rush, autos down, but I think Kez is able to get the trade kill here. Shifter will go down, but a very nice outplay, almost getting away cleanly there.
Yeah, he really decided to get aggressive. The barrier of Bishu kind of caught him a little bit off guard. It seemed like he'd be able to get a clean kill, and then once he went for it and didn't get it, he overcommitted. More gold actually transferred to the Walking Zed because they got access to the assist pool there, and because Shifter had a bit of a killing spree.
But if that didn't put the fear in Bishu after that, DFG's now finished here as Zion Spartan's going to start to chase down Yuzuki. There's Shyvana going in, Dragon's Descent, but just decides to give it up there. Dominus popped by Renekton as well, so he's going to walk away from it here. Just down the bottom, continuing to pressure here in Coast. Again, very close game, but they're playing like they're more ahead than they are.
Yeah, and they were playing like they're ahead. Soon they will actually be ahead. I'd have to say the Shyvana versus Renekton lane is something we saw a lot of in the European promotion tournament. And it's normally a lane that goes to Renekton for the first 8 or 9 levels and then transfers back to Shyvana. So this is the point in the game where Zion Spartan should be able to take a bit of aggression. And we can kind of see that as he used his Dragon's Descent and is pushing Renekton right back to his second turn.
And Yuzuki is kind of the tank player here. They're going to have another man fight, but Zion Spartan's like, buddy, you don't have your ultimate. You got really no hope in this one. And Yuzuki's kind of forced to back off again. He's the one supposed to be playing the big tanky champion. And Shyvana right here is giving him a lot of trouble.
This point of the game is done. They're stunned.
China Corruption coming through. The flag actually missing there. Bobby Hankill going to get out safely. Everything does not hit there, unfortunately. Finds nothing but air for Coast's skill shot.
Yeah, it seemed like the flake didn't necessarily hit him there, so the hook was not slowed the target, so he couldn't land it afterwards. They were trying the stun chain right there, but Nintendo was just a hair behind, so he could not combo with everything.
Well, to be fair, their aggression gets him a Tyrant's Repel happens from Nintendo, riding a Lantern out as well. That's beautiful mobility, but Wu's Fusion might be in trouble as there's the mini Shirelli popping up for Karma. Hook trying to delay it off, but can't quite get it done. Wu's Fusion has his flash, so Nidus low in there as well. Needs to be careful. Boomerang Blade there will finally force the flash up, but there's the Undertow plus the Ragnarok. Barrier popped in there as well. The Lantern moved down. He's going to clear it, but he dies there in mid-flight. Now Daydreaming in trouble trying to chase down lone members of TWC. But that's going to be yet another kill for Bobby Hankill.
Coast overstayed for that turret, and they paid dearly for that one. It was a great chase by the Walking Zed afterwards, really utilizing the speed of their composition. Karma shields, Sivir ult, no, they didn't have the Sivir ult. It was just the Karma speed, and they were able to get slows and everything. If that hook would have landed, they maybe would have gotten a kill back on a Nidus Remain, but the rest of it was just Daydream and WizFusion not being willing to abandon each other, and it ends up killing them both.
Yeah, I love that Kez saved his ultimate there as well, just so he couldn't get cocooned. I don't know if he was counting in his head the cooldown specifically there for that ability, but he waited enough. He knew he didn't need to blow it until something happened, and that really helped him pick up the last kill onto WizFusion as well. So with that, the Walking Zed pick themselves up a lead here in this game, close to 2,000 gold. But again, that doesn't ever feel like a big lead against a team like Coast.
Not necessarily, and we haven't seen Shifter starting to roam yet. He does have his Deathfire Grasp. He's going to be working on the magic penetration very shortly. And there's a fair amount of people he could be looking to assassinate. As big as Corkez is getting with those 3 kills, Shifter could blow him up. There's no magic resist on Olaf right now.
The only issue that, as we pointed out with Shifter's roam, is that he often needs someone to help clear the waves out with him. Now, they can pull Zion Spartan and have the Shyvana there, but he kind of needs to occupy another lane here. In fact, he'll be in a bit of trouble towards the top lane, but it's going to just fall back towards the turret. Nintendo's not on that Olaf, not on a good wave-clearing jungler.
No. I think he was just more wrapped up in getting Elise away from Kez, because Elise is Nintendo's favorite jungler, even if a lot of people would think it would be Olaf. And it's just a strange combination for Coast, because they wanted to pick the roaming assassin without the jungler wave clear to hold it on.
I like this rotation a lot, though, from Coast, knowing that there are 2 people top there. They're actually going to move out. There's the Lantern will actually get Nintendo there. Bishu and Kez, very aggressive. Great cocoon in there as well, just to keep it all safe. And Kez still chasing in here. I mean, I didn't see it initially, but there's a lot of speed with Orianna as well to get everyone in.
Everybody on the bottom part of the Walking Zed's lineup can just blow people through the map, and a 5-man group, because they've killed a couple of the other turrets and they're trying to make a bit of a play. They think they can outpoke Coast, but I think this is a dangerous spot to be. If Shifter lands a stun or Nintendo X does, they could burst out the Walking Zed before they have time to react. That speed that the Walking Zed has can't be utilized under a turret. They need to force fights in the open so they can chase people down afterwards.
A good back off though from the Walking Zed, as Zion Spartan was creeping his way around the side there as well. So I like that call here. Now maybe sniffing around at this Dragon, which is back up here. Could see a first major fight for this one as well. Everyone is here grouped up. Ultimates all available. Yep, so teams are ready to go here, Jat. Could get really hairy really quickly.
And Coast might actually be giving this one up. They don't have ward control, and they don't want to walk into a big Mantrid Karma Q or a Shockwave, because an Orianna Ball is waiting in the brush. The Walking Zed used their control well to pick up a Dragon.
And when we talked about the discipline of Evil Geniuses yesterday when they were playing ahead and playing safe, it says a lot to me that a team who probably knows they're a bit behind is also still playing safely.
Yeah, the Walking Zed is definitely regrouped well from that first game. They look a lot stronger here, but there's that hook.
Bishu getting grabbed in the flare, plus Box goes in, there's a Shifter, blows up Bishu there as he's going to go down. Now Nintendo running away from Kez as he repels out. Now Spirit Rush moving in there for Arya's Nidus. Domain is under attack, the damage still moving in, Chum just missing there. The back of Karma, but Zion's dove way in the back.
That's Dragon.
Flame pets up Yuzuki, and Bobby Hand kill on top of him as well. Nidus just able to get away. The red buff though, causing all sorts of problems for Sivir, popping the barrier there as well, but I think he's dead, and he is.
And Zion Spartan is just going to continue the chase. No one can catch the speed of Karma, but that's the danger the Walking Zed needed to respect while sieging a turret. One of the many stun shots landed for Coast, and it just meant disaster for whoever got hit.
Gonna get a turret out of it as well. Our Coast, Zion Spartan chugs down the bottom lane as well. So it's not quite even yet, about 1,000 gold up for the Walking Zed in this one. Had about a 2k lead before, so lost a little bit of it. And the Walking Zed, they cannot do that again.
Yeah, that's the fear they're going to instill. And that kind of puts the Walking Zed in a weird spot, because they've already sieged down 2 of the outer turrets. And whenever they try to siege one, they're going to be running that risk. They don't have the same catch potential that Coast does. The only way I feel like the Walking Zed gets another turret down is if they do significant damage to Coast before the siege happens. It seems like Coast can defend too well.
Yeah, and if you kind of cast your mind back to the Battle of the Atlantic matchup yesterday with CLG versus Alternate here, I'm seeing something from Nintendo that I saw from Dexter as well when he was playing Elise in terms of item builds, Chad. You want to maybe highlight a bit of what's going on there?
You'll have to hit me one more time.
Just a bit more aggressive with the item build. We kind of have 2 schools of thought on Elise, it seems
Absolutely,
like.
yeah. I got that one. Yeah, what Intended X has done, I think because he's taken a whole bunch of farm, is went full magic penetration. We've definitely seen a few people rush the tank spirit on Elise as well, which would be good if they really need someone to get in there and shake things up. But because Coast is all about that catch one person, stun them, and blow them up, that's all Intended X really needs to build himself for, and then they'll have Zion Spartan to dive in. And if they've already taken out a priority target, one diver is actually enough.
Yeah, Zion Spartan here warding up, going to split push his way down the top lane now as well. I mean, the Walking Zed are trying to group up, trying to push some people down. We've got Varus down the bottom as well there for Coast, split pushing it up, and this is just great use of the map generally from Coast. The Walking Zed are afraid to walk into the middle turret and try and defend it again, really group in a tight place like a lane. They're going to have to move out now, try and pick off some of the side lanes, but Coast are just kind of abusing the map here and maybe the fear that the Walking Zed have after that last engagement.
Yeah, they exposed two people right there, and they made the Walking Zed commit to one. They stopped Wiz Fusion's ability to farm, which meant that Zion Spartan could get it. It also stopped the push in the mid, and it meant Coast could get their blue, but Zion Spartan is on a bit of an adventure.
He is on a mission right now. Jetty's forced to use his ultimate there. Kez does
nice shot
with the undertow. Now Karma moving in as well for the snare. The rest of the team not quite there. Bobby Hank Hill's going to find him now. Is on Shyvana. Maybe taking, but it's not enough to land. It goes down, rides his way out. And Coast, another miracle evacuation there for Daydreaming.
Adventure complete right there for Zion Spartan. He went all the way around the world right there and made it out alive. And now can the Walking Zed push mid because they have taken a hit out of Zion.
That's confidence there as well. Shifter just missing that charm there, but thankfully no punishment from Yuzuki moving through as Intended was a little far forward. Now Shyvana going to run back towards the mid as fast as he can, and Walking Zed have to be careful. Last time this happened, things went horribly, horribly wrong as people ate a whole bunch of stuns to the face, but they're going to siege the best they can. But really, what siege potential does the Walking Zed's team have here, Dan?
They're really just trying to poke people with Olaf Axes, Orianna Balls, or just Nidus Remains Karma abilities, but none of those things are killers. Until maybe Bishu has 700 ability power in Orianna, she's just a little bit of poke damage. You can see they immediately backed away because the threat of a Coast stun is just far too high.
Yeah, going to be pushing down again here with this one. See the item builds kind of coming through. You're going to speaking of item builds, sorry, I really like that Shifter's just doing something that he loves to do here. He's going nice and aggressive with the item build. Got one need to see large rock, he's going to need another one.
Absolutely no defense. He's going death cap after this one. Also before his magic penetration, which is a little bit curious. And this is actually one of those, I'm going to play like I'm a head moves from Coast. The surprise two-man Baron at this point. Let's see if the Spiderlings can tank enough damage for Coast, and Zion and Intended can finish this one down. It doesn't seem like the Walking Zed has an idea.
I mean, I thought Intended was adventurous with his solo dragon there, but
how about Dual Baron?
Dual Baron is pretty spicy. And we're going to see if they can finish it off. A good trade tanking actually coming through, and you're right, there's absolutely zero vision coming out from the Walking Zed, and they are going to get it there.
Really big play there by Coast.
We don't say free Baron very often, Jet.
That's because they stole it.
I suppose. It's free if you steal it. And Coast with a very sneaky move there, picking up a Baron 22 minutes or thereabouts. And the Walking Zed are in for a rude surprise when they catch a member of Coast next.
Yeah, that is... See, you can see everyone on Coast is like, all right, let's go back and buy items and let's start pushing, because they just took the game. That took the advantage into their own hands. The gold is still not evened out, but the gold value of that Baron buff is massive. Add to the fact that there's also been some big item completions that just happened for Coast. Static Shiv has been comboed with Bloodthirst for Wiz Fusion, and most importantly, Shifter's Death Cap finished up.
Yeah, Ari is now at a very, very big point of power here for Coast. They're all getting buffed by the Baron as well, don't forget. The Walking Zed probably going to have to dig in deep, expecting a push here. I have to say, Zion Spartan with all the Shyvana play, drawing a lot of fire in whatever lane he ends up in. There's two people hanging out around that side of the map now. And they're going to go in now as Yuzuki dives on there. Undertow just going to miss there for Kez. And that's going to mean Shyvana's getting away very, very cleanly. Yep. Beautiful trade here for Coast moving in. Immediately rotates towards Dragon.
Coast has been very objective focused here, and it's one of the big things that pulled them back into this game. Zion Spartan, let's see if he can go on Adventure Time again.
Three-man dive, Zion Spartan on another great escape here. We'll see if he can get away. Snared up by Karma W there, but he's going to keep running. Exhaust used in there as well. Does finally get taken down, but Coast are rotating very quickly towards the bottom side of the map.
Yeah, they finally slayed the dragon, but they're going to lose a whole bunch for it. Their towers are falling because they devoted too many resources to one man. Coast pushing bottom.
Yep, Nintendo even hanging off the side there, see if he could spot anybody foolishly coming through with a nice cocoon. Bishu actually in a little bit of trouble potentially, but gets himself out of the way. Yuzuki up towards the top lane, does get a tower there, but the Walking Zed, so 4-3 in favor of Coast on that one. again, it strikes me, the statement you made earlier that Coast always seem to play like they're further ahead than they are. Look at the gold lead, Jed.
Yeah, it's very even, and Mizuki's trying desperately to draw some attention up towards Renekton. But Coast really wants to push with this Baron a little bit. They still have about 2 minutes left, a little bit under that of their Baron buff, and they might want to siege some type of inner turret. The same threat that Coast displayed when defending their turret exists when pushing them. It's just a little bit more risky. All they have to do is land one stun when they're all together, and that will be a dead target.
Yeah, quick cocoon there from Nintendo. Will defend himself from Orianna that moves through Pinkwood. Going to get taken out there as well as Coast still looking to capitalize on that very sneaky Baron that they took away. And you mentioned that threat of people getting CC'd looks bad there for the Walking Zed. I actually really like their poke in a siege as well.
It's really a team comp that's coming together for them right now. It's just been a difficult start for Coast in this game.
Yep, so the Walking Zed still picking up items. Remember, this game a lot closer than it may appear given how aggressively Coast are playing. We've got Deathcap and Athene's finished up for Bishu now as well. Spirit Visage, Sunfire, those core items up on Renekton, and both the AD carries sitting at 2 items, looking to move towards the 3rd in about a few minutes or so.
Yeah, and there's going to be the 2 tanks on the Walking Zed, where it's only just about a tank. And now there's the big open field move speed we're seeing from the Walking Zed, chasing him down.
Oh, good chain of corruption. The Wiz Fusion pops the lantern, and Kez, he cannot be CC, but it doesn't matter. And a beautiful use of Varasol for disengage.
Wow, they barely got out of that one. He shut so many of them down with the stun, and then was able to get a lantern because his spacing with Daydreamin' was so good. That was really almost all their initiation. That's as fast as they can possibly run, and they still couldn't catch Coast.
Yeah, and Zion Spartan, to me, we said he was on a mission before. He seems to have picked a new mission for himself. That item build, to me, signals Split Bush.
Yeah, Blade of the Ruined King means for all the health that Mizuki is trying to stack on Renekton, Zion Spartan should be able to cut through that. It'll also help Zion escape a little bit better because he can Blade of the Ruined King for the move speed when he's running away. That's actually a very critical part of his strategy here.
The Baron buff, though, probably timing up pretty quickly here on Coast, so going to not have quite the power they had in the push before. And again, I commented on how nicely they're using the map here, really spreading everybody out here. As you can see, Nidus Main going to take a big chunk of poke to the face as Varus's arrow will come in there. And the Walking Zed, again, a game that seems so close. They feel behind. Normally when you see a team in the lower third of the map towards their base, they're a lot more behind than this.
Absolutely, and it's just a huge amount of map pressure that Coast is able to apply right here. And I don't think the Walking Zed has the experience right now to know how to repel a push like this.
Yeah, and they're just continuing to push every which way here. Siva, such a great pusher herself, as you see Bobby Hankill clearing out the minion waves. He's going to be able to push out Zion Spartan, but the pressure's coming from all angles here. Wiz Fusion got to get out though, rides the lantern out. And the mobility here is something we haven't commented on yet, Jeff, for Team Coast.
No, Team Coast is using the Thresh Lantern as great as they possibly could to kind of make up for Wiz Fusion's inability to dance around. The rest of the team can dance around pretty well, though, and they have been doing so. Yeah,
and just a very slippy, very sneaky sort of team here for Coast, just rotating back and forth here. Shifter, who loves to roam here. Oh, very aggressive flash on the Bobby Hankill.
Too much.
Diving in. Yes, that is too much as Yuzuki is coming through now as well. Zion Spartan going to take quite a few tower hits, but going to run poke here as Shifter, trying to get Zion out as best he can. In fact, Spirit rushes out of the way. A good charm there as the Dominus gets popped, and Zion once again, every mission he goes on, he comes home safely, Jet.
Wow, they're still trying to chase. I don't think they're going to be able to catch him. Fight up top, though.
That minion wave got a little awkward, unfortunately, as Renekton slashed in. Daydreamin' going in. A good old there for Varus. They're trying to run the disengage, but Kez absolutely gets him in the face as Thresh is going to fall down. They're now Nintendo potentially in a bit of trouble, but everybody else will get out safely, I think. Yes, they will.
Just depends how fast the Walking Zed can run.
Good cocoon, though, from Nintendo. Trying to get out of it, does there. Sped up one more time. All the Spiderlings in trouble. They're undertows. Good juke there from Nintendo coming through as Wiz Fusion going to try and turn it around, and they get back to the safety of the Tier 2 turret.
Well, there's the open field chase that the Walking Zed has. When they have a long place to chase you down, maybe they're going to be able to do it because their comp is all about speed. They continue the chase on the bottom side as well, and they're going to get a turret out of all this action.
The Walking Zed answering back with a Tier 2 turret down towards the bottom as well. So all of a sudden, that pressure there from Coast Zion went in a little too deep. And we're going to see it again here as Daydreamin' tries to run defense.
Yeah, as soon as Daydreamin' started throwing that hook, once they knew it missed, the Walking Zed kind of just ran in all around it. Nintendo Dex was out of mana. Having Orianna and Olaf there was just much stronger than what Coast could throw back at them, and it meant full retreat.
And the Walking Zed spring to life all of a sudden, contained in the lower third of their base for quite a little while there with all the pressure. Zion gets a little too ahead of himself. And Coast again kind of back to, okay, maybe they realize we're not that far ahead here. And Walking Zed actually up about 1,000 gold here. Spartan still pushing every lane he possibly can. He's down the bottom lane now.
Yeah, and this is turning into a really good game. As far as the late game goes for these guys, it's going to be very heavily about the charms for Shifter. I think if those don't land, then the Walking Zed might actually start pulling ahead because they won't have a full answer for Kez's Olaf.
Charm just missing there onto Renekton as well for Shifter. That could have been very bad news for Yuzuki, but he'll get out for now. And all this map control that Coast have been exerting, I was trying to scratch my brain jet thinking, how did this happen? But look at those trinkets on the Coast side.
5 sweepers, a new record.
That is a new record.
Promotion turner right now. Everybody wants to sweep out the wards, and only a couple people want to help place him. The Sightstone from Daydream is going to have to work overtime here. And Coast has got to be careful, actually, not to underward, because they're out of their trinkets.
Yeah, the mini comeback dragon there, pushing Coast a little further ahead in gold now as well. The rest of the team cut off a bit. Lanson's going to ride Nintendo in there, trying to defend this turret, but Varus all the way down towards the bottom. They're going to go in anyway. Silence Button taking a big chunk of damage, and Shyvana's forced to get out. Bishu going to get that turret as Nintendo is getting chased down there as well. And everyone gets out safely for Coast, but that turret's dead.
Walking Zed definitely trying to brute force. Coast did not have the men to hold that turret off, and Walking Zed is just outspeeding Coast around the map here. The last few rotations, Walking Zed has just beaten them to the spot, and it's given them big rewards.
Yep, blue buff going to get stolen away here as well as Bishu will pick that one up for himself. He'll be very happy with that. And a big stack of minions down the bottom is doing a little bit of work here for Coast. In fact, I think they're getting itchy about this Baron potentially.
Yeah, we could see a game-changing fight very shortly at this Baron. Walking Zed has to be careful how they approach around this one. Coast stole the last one. That didn't actually have too big of an overall impact on the game. Have to give a big hands up to, or 2 thumbs up to the Walking Zed for doing that one.
Shifter there as well. You can see really wanted to initiate over the ridge with his ultimate as Ahri, but there's good ward coverage there for Walking Zed around that Baron. They kind of expect that threat now that Zion's been pushing down that bottom lane so hard in preparation. They're going to find what they can here. They've got so many sweepers, they should be able to clear out what wards they can find here as they take out the pink. And all of a sudden, it feels like a very Baron-esque game now, or Baron-centric game.
Yep, Baron dance time. The gold is incredibly close at 32 minutes. They got to be super careful with how they're poking around here. And it's because of the speed of the Walking Zed. If they start winning a fight, they will finish winning a fight.
Haven't really seen a whole lot of Baron dances on this patch either, so it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. Zion's fighting up towards the top though. Going to try and farm out as much as he can. He's pushing very, very quickly here on Shyvana with that Sunfire K+ burnout. So many pink wards hanging out there for the Walking Zed that they want control. Double pink ward. That's a bold statement.
Takes twice as many hits to kill him.
That's true. I mean, if you're going to ward bait somebody in, you might as well have 10 hits instead of 5.
Oh man,
it's an interesting game, Jad.
Yeah.
What's happening here?
This got very interesting. It's the 5 sweepers for Coast, so they're very well prepared for a siege like this from a clearing perspective. But that means if the Walking Zed has the upper hand, then Coast is going to struggle greatly to put wards back inside. And since the Walking Zed has more wards on the map, they're actually the ones that are getting to move where they want. As cool as 5 sweepers looks, because it's all red, I don't like it.
I mean, the Walking Zed also really just no longer afraid of Coast, it seems, but they realize that this game seems good for them. They're massively pressuring this turret.
Shyvana's behind them.
Oh, Science Button trying to do the wraparound. Walking Zed really staying together here. I mean, we talked about teams staying together and moving together. The Walking Zed kind of felt a little scattered over this map at one point, but look really together now. They're just grouping constantly.
Absolutely, and they're making sure that Kez kind of blocks skill shots, or at least they want to, because if Bishu gets hit by a death sentence or anything, I do think they'd try to pile in. Having a Zhonya's Hourglass could backfire some of the stuff for Coast. This next fight is going to be so telling when it happens, because you know these teams don't actually have a power curve for what's going on right now. That's why they're not being too decisive about where they go.
Yeah, when a game is balanced like this, it's so close between the two teams. It's often one late game team fight that really determines it all. So we'll have to see what happens here. Hooks again being thrown out here. It's just constant wave clear coming up for Coast. Aggressive ball positioning from Bishu there as well. And Orianna is trying to clear everything out here. That does look on a Knight. It's not really who they want though. Let's take a little bit of poke back and forth. But Jad, if it's 5v5 team fight was to start, and both teams kind of want to start one here, who do you think has the advantage?
I think it's really all about who lands the right target. So I think Bishu and the Walking Zed would have an advantage if he lands a Shockwave on 3 or more people. And I think Coast obviously wins one if they catch anyone who's not Olaf or Renekton in a charm. It's too close to actually call one straight up because it's all about who initiates it properly.
Dragon being checked out by the Walking Zed, but they get bad news as that's on up for about 1 minute and 40 seconds as Zion Spartan once again wave clears all of a sudden. They're speeding up here though. Nidus wants to go in, maybe try and tie him down. Shyvana not particularly afraid. They will take a bit of poke here and there, but Coast will rotate down towards the bottom lane.
And I'm a little surprised that Coast is only waiting on the death sentence to go in. It seems like everyone's just waiting to see if Daydreaming can land something, like he's the one making the calls, because Nintendo landed a stun and no one was looking to combo. They're not really playing off of each other in the way that they could optimally. They're really just waiting for one of the hardest skill shots to land in that death sentence in order to combo. I think they should be trying to key off Nintendo a bit more.
And here Coast going to try and ward up. They know Baron is still such a big objective here in this game. Going to use their sweepers where they can just miss the edge of that ward. You can see close to shifter there between him and Nintendo. So that one's a really nice one actually. It's kind of out of range of a lot of the sweepers. It's not an obvious spot and it gives you a lot of information moving towards Baron.
Yeah, 5 supers will do you everything if you don't sweep the right spots. It's the new ward meta for these guys, trying to put them in just the unsweepable spots. And now they're all going for this because Zion Spartan's nowhere to be found.
Yeah, the Walking Zed not only forcing in here.
This is an attempted steal from Elise. That's all it can be.
Well, we'll have to see what happens. Chain of Corruption goes in as well. They're looking for it. Nidus the main getting low. He flashes out there, and the Walking Zed still happy here going onto this Baron. Zion Spartan very far away from this, but Baron's not that unhealthy here. About half health, man. Down to a third now as well. Gonna look for it now.
Zion's here though.
Through. Zion did finally come in. Intended around the side. Want to find the steal. They're gonna start the fight. The repel does happen. Intended trying to get in there. A decent Chockwave finds 2 though. The box lands in there. Zion Spartan picks up Nidus in there as well. And Bishu's given up on the Baron. Coast managed to get them out there, and that was very patient play.
But there's only been 1 kill, and now they're kind of back on the Baron. Look at all the people flashing red across the map. 2 on one side, 3 on the other. They might just back away from this.
Maybe Coast here rotating mid, it seems like, want to pressure down. Instant 3-man recall coming out from the Walking Zed as well. Sivir now joins the party as Dragon looks to be the objective picked up here by Coast. That was a very tense 50-50 Baron.
Yeah, Zion Spartan had a long ways to run once again to try and stop that one. I worried a lot when Coast threw the Lantern inside the Baron pit because that kind of stopped their ability to steal, but they were confident enough that the Walking Zed could burst down the Baron in the time it took for Zion Spartan to come up, and they did just enough to delay them and actually gave themselves the upper hand in the fight. Because all the people inside for the Walking Zed were very low from sitting in the Baron for so long.
Coast actually with a small lead in gold now as well. You can see the Walking Zed up in turrets and in kills, but it's just under 2k ahead for Coast right now. And it's amazing to me how different this game looks between these two teams. The Walking Zed had to kind of feel down about the game one they had. It didn't look close at all for them, unfortunately, but this is an incredibly tight game between two teams, and we've said it's really experience and team cohesion that's saying a lot about the teams that seem to be getting into promotion here. And the Walking Zed, they're a challenge team. If they can prove themselves here in this game, Coast is going to be like, oh man, we thought we were going to have it easy.
Yeah, winning games like this can be so pivotal in best-of-5 series. I feel like if the Walking Zed doesn't pull this one out, since they were so close, they could just mentally collapse and very easily fall into a 3-0 defeat. But winning a game like this makes it a completely new series. It then becomes a best-of-3, and they have momentum.
Yeah,
so what happens in the next 10 or 15 minutes here could very well decide the series.
And this game is so tense. Shyvana still pushing down the bottom. Zion is committed to the split pushing despite not having teleport. Bobby, Hankiel now drawn over there. Coast maybe going to rotate over and at least get some Baron vision for themselves. But again, the rotations here, I mean, you could study this game like something like a football match. There's so much movement happening.
And I don't think Zion's making an impact with his split pushing right now. He's just sitting down there, and it's allowing Bobby Hankiel to farm just as freely as Zion Spartan. I think Sivir's farm is actually more valuable than Shyvana's at this point.
I think so too. I mean, it's arguable who you would like at the Baron fight if one was to start 4v4.
Yeah.
Maybe you want Sivir there instead, so that could be their plan, but I like this a lot. Yazuki's now the man down there.
Look at the level advantage, though. It was 3 levels, now it's just 2. Even so, though, because it's on top of a turret, Zion Spartan can't do much.
Yeah, I mean, for all his
outside
pushing,
of farm.
I mean, he is farming, that's certainly true, but he's done very little damage to the inhibitor turret down towards the bottom here. And it's just a very long Baron dance coming between these two teams.
This is interesting. Coast is positioning themselves around Baron like they're sweeping it, but Shifter's made it all the way down here until he hit a ward, and the surprise was lost.
Well, surprise avoided there, I guess, for the Walking Zed is they're going to walk out here. Coast are going to start, nope, never mind. That would have been very interesting to start a 3-man Baron.
With all the sweeping that Coast has, they haven't found the wards. They swept where the ward was, and that's why they were able to back away from that. And then when they started the Baron, they thought they had the pit cleared, but they missed the one in the corner. And the Walking Zed is placing wards in the right spots to dodge the sweepers.
Yeah, and they would have seen all these red trinkets, and at one point I've been like, hang on a second, that's an awful lot of sweeping going on. I love the creativity of the Walking Zed to put wards in just still good, but slightly unconventional spots, and that's really helping them here in the late game vision war, and that's what it's turned into now at this point.
It's a weird mind game. You just kind of think to yourself, so where do I want to ward? Okay, don't put it there. Put it where you don't want to ward. That way they won't check it.
Yeah, but as long as it's close enough to where you kind of want to ward, so it's a little funny here as we do have a pause here. A little different to our game 1 pause here.
We made it very far into this game.
That's true.
We're already 39 minutes and 58 seconds in, so it's been one hell of a game so far.
It really has. So, Jet, let's break it down here. We've got a bit of a break to kind of go through this 40-minute game so far. Game 1 was a very different story between these two teams. Coast just found a lead and ran all the way home with it. And it never looked close. Their Walking Zed just kind of didn't look in that game. How did we get to this point in this game?
Yeah, I mean, I think it all started from the level 1. Coast didn't adapt their strategies between games. They all tried to invade straight to the red buff, and they got double killed from there. And even though they've been playing like they're ahead, coming back from something like that is incredibly difficult. And I also think the regrouping time, the greatly different team compositions that the Walking Zed have been able to put up in these two games have made it an even game.
And for me, the thing I'm probably most impressed by the Walking Zed in this game is an amazing amount of patience. Anyone else in this situation maybe gets a little nervous, isn't confident in their team chemistry late game, confident in that synergy. The Walking Zed are playing like they'll have any late game that comes here. And both teams are playing very, very carefully off each other. I mean, it's a pause right now. Again, we talked about how that could affect momentum in game 1 early on in that game. How can it affect it in such a long game? This is already a marathon for these players.
Yeah, it makes them think a lot more about the next decision they make. I remember the game we had yesterday with CLG and Alternate, where they danced around for 55 minutes, and then Kerp landed a barrel, got a double kill, and the game was over. Something like that could happen here. So they have to be so laser focused on what they're doing right now. Think of if Coast tries another split push with Silent Spartan bottom lane, yet instead of a Baron tried, the Walking Zed just rushes the other 4 members of Coast. They could win that fight and just carry it through to a game. So it's really just all about warding the right spots and having trust that your decisions are completely sound. And in that regard, I give the advantage to Coast because they've been here more. But with how the Walking Zed's played, I can't count them out.
I think just something interesting that Hai sort of brought up when we were interviewing him here before, he was talking about how games just go later. And that's very true. We've seen a lot of games here in the Battle of the Atlantic, here in the promotion series, just going later. One of the things that we are now starting to see in these longer games that we didn't get to see before, and you mentioning Kerp and Gragas yesterday reminded me of it, AP mids are actually starting to get a lot of farm.
Oh, yeah.
And games change very dramatically when you have a fed kind of assassin or burst-related champion.
When you got the guy that can one-shot, and Orianna turns into that late in the game when she hits 5 or 6 items. Just a quick update, Shifter's computer's having to be restarted. This is not the same problem that caused the 2-hour delay. That problem has been fixed, so we should not see a recurring set of pauses like we did earlier. As soon as his computer's up and running, we will be back into this game.
Yeah, and I mean, both these teams here, you can see very silent, very focused, and very serious. And this is a big game for both teams. I mean, we talk about best of 5s and how they're long series is. I think it's really interesting. Like, what do you think of game 2 specifically in a best of 5, Jet, in terms of like where it's placed in the series, especially if Coast to go 2-0 up here?
Yeah, trying to place like what's the importance of the second game. I'd almost call it the most important game. I mean, maybe you'd say game 1 is the most important game, but
that's
really,
true. Double If would probably say that.
Yeah. Because really, if the difference between a 2-0 and a 1-1 is monumental. It changes it from becoming just a best of 3 versus, hi, you have to win 3 games in a row. And that mindset shift, I think, is bigger than at any other point in a best of 5.
And you kind of mentioned it as well. I think the Walking Zed winning here is a big deal for them because it kind of resets the series for them. They had that game 1, cannot be happy with that performance at all. So kind of resetting it to a best of 3 probably put them in a better state of mind here.
Yeah, Bobby and Kills had a much better game. Kez specifically has gotten 5 kills thus far on Olaf, and he's really been the man who runs in and gets dirty with these fights. So still not all the sweepers on them. They're still kind of playing off their back foot, but they're sticking in it real well.
All right, so we'll see what happens here. Gameplay has resumed here between these two teams, and we said it already, a very tense, drawn-out affair so far here. This game is obscenely close in gold. I mean, 2,000 gold at 40 minutes is crazy to me. I mean, when you get to this point in the game, we can be 6, 8, maybe 10,000 gold, and that difference doesn't matter as much anymore. The fact that it's this close in gold at this point in the game, and it's kind of been this way the whole time, is just amazing to me.
And the big difference, if we look across at the very top line, Yuzuki, versus Zion Spartan is a big difference, actually. 2,600 gold. If we can see Zion Spartan and Izuki in that same team fight, Shyvana will greatly outscale in that regard. And that also means there's a higher priority in killing Bishu on Orianna, since he is the primary gold holder for the Walking Zed.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about Bishu as kind of the star player of the Walking Zed, as someone to watch here. And I think Coast definitely have him on their radar in terms of players to kill. And I think it's funny that Coast have been very cautious with their initiation. I think they're mainly just trying to kill Bishu.
Yeah, and with the barrier, I really love the choice of barrier on defensive mid laner. Yes, it plays into Bishu's style, and maybe it can't get the kills early on in lane, but against someone as aggressive as Shifter, it's needed for him to shut him down.
And I think shutdown is a great way to put it as well. Shifter, he had some good early plays. He got a nice early DFG, but we saw no impact when he bought that item. He got it quite quickly.
Yeah, there's a 100 CS difference right now because Shifter's been roaming so much, and also because Zion Spartan's been taking the split farm. Shifter's letting a lot of that farm go to the wayside because he still thinks if he gets the Deathfire Grasp down on someone, he should have enough power to just burst them out. But look at all the defensive items that Bishu's building, actually.
Yeah, we spot the Locket of the Iron Solari on Olaf as well. Kind of add a little bit of extra tankiness.
Or
we've got the
Magic
GA.
Resist.
Yep, oh, absolutely. Got the GA in there as well for him. I mean, Orianna herself, pretty hard champion to kill with that Command Protect coming out. And I mean, we talk about Bishu being key here as a player. I think that's true. I think it's even more true in this game on the champion he's on. Orianna is so good when it comes to teamfight control that if Bishu dies, I mean, he's got an extra life now with GA, but Coast, if they find the perfect initiation, you could see fireworks.
I think it actually changes priorities once they see that item built, though. He's built one super defensive item before Void Staff, and it means the shockwaves and the damage that he's going to be doing with Ori aren't nearly as impactful. I think that means they have to go for someone else as their priority target. Here's that speed fight, though. We might see it.
Yep, Kaz can't get in. Yazuki going to try and find somebody. Finds Nintendo, who's quite tanky. Good chain of corruption onto Bishu. They're going to maybe try and dive in. A two-man truck over the tank to Bishu. Gets trunked down there. The GA's popped there. There's a good box comes out for Thresh in there as well. Now Shifter trying to get out of the way. Yazuki's chasing him on. There's the Zonies as Fusion picks up Bobby Hand kill. Bishu looking to go down here as well as he just gets protected there. Nidus of Main very much in trouble though as he's going to go down. A double kill there for Varus. 2-for-1 trade certainly in favor of Coast.
And everyone else after that fight has scattered. It was so close to being a disaster for the Walking Zed. We saw Bishu Shockwave really didn't do much, and he got caught in a bad position. But everyone on the Walking Zed went back, and they're rushing back with home guards. How fast can Coast kill this Baron?
Well, very fast by the looks of things, but we'll see what can happen here. The Walking Zed going to beeline everybody they can. Yazuki's still around, actually. Going to look for it here. The hook looking, doesn't quite get it, but it doesn't matter. Coast pick up Baron.
So just huge fights and plays coming out from Coast. They're 2 for 2 on Barons, and that was actually a fight initiated by the Walking Zed. Even if they didn't land something hard, they all used their move speed, and then Coast just decided to turn. They landed the Chain of Corruption as Zion Spartan went down, and definitely watch Bishu here. He didn't really do anything. Then it was all about Shifter running away from the tank line of the Walking Zed and allowing the rest of Coast to finish off the fight. Once Bishu was nearly down and everyone else was chasing the Ahri, it just meant Coast could chase people down. That's why WizFuJin got the double kill.
Dragon going to go down there as well. Zion Spartan continuing his lone wolf missions here, really going out and just doing whatever he can solo. Gets a Dragon for his team. Going to give a nice chunk of gold over to Coast. Gold doesn't quite matter as much at this point of the game because we are very much moving towards the later stages, but you can see the inventories for Coast look a little more full here. And with Baron Jet, they couldn't quite get the push done before. How do you think it's going to happen now?
It's going to be a little better for them this time because Zion Spartan is substantially tankier, and if they do get a catch at one of those turrets, they would be able to dive on through it. Also, I think WizFuJin has much more damage now with the Infinity Edge completed. We say that gold doesn't have as big of an impact 45 minutes in, but the spike of 5,000 gold that Coast just acquired in a game that was essentially dead even will give them a lot of confidence to push through here.
Yeah, again, a team that seems to play ahead even when they're not. They're going to know they're ahead now at this point with the Baron buff, so we'll see what they can get done. Zion still pushing the bottom lane. He just can't get out. He's magnetized now.
Maybe that's the next lane they're going for a turret in, but I think they actually should take the outer turrets in both the mid and the top lane before they try anything crazy. But I don't even know if they can make it to that point. Most of the fights that Coast has been able to win have been from their back foot. The Walking Zed is keep pushing them back, and it's just in retaliation that Coast has been able to get these advantages.
I mean, it almost feels like Coast are playing a very, attempting to bait them into bad fights here, because you're right, both the fights that the Walking Zed have lost have just been Coast outplaying them when they kind of botched the initiation a little. And it's if that is the plan, and I don't quite think, I think it is being careful here rather than anything else, but if we're just constantly pushing down, annoying the enemy, kind of waiting for them to snap, that takes a lot of resolve for the team, but that's a pretty ballsy game plan.
Yeah, I mean, it's not because Zion Spartan's going to be able to solo Yuzuki down. Sure, he got a couple hits on him, but he took maybe, what was that, 4 health bars out of him? He's got 30 of them left. It has to be decided from a big, massive team fight, knowing there's so many tanks going on here. And unless that's in the open, I don't know if this big team fight can happen.
Yep, Zion's still looking for pressure though, and he's really stuck here as Nardus gonna eat a cocoon there from Elise. But Coast not quite together. Trying to find a 4v4 action here. I have to say, WizFusion, big prop to him on that last bit of Aerosol. Oh, this is impressive from Zion. He's started to not care about Renekton's damage. And Renekton has sort of dropped off a little here.
Well, Bishu's come over. He's a friend.
Oh, that's dodging the shockwave though. Maybe if Coast can go back in, that'll be really nice for them. In fact, Zion's hanging around. He's got Baron regen up as well. And Coast are going to try and be decisive here, but Minions not quite in position.
Yeah, this means Coast can be much more aggressive with this turret, knowing that the shockwave is down. And Zion Spartan will be able to lifesteal and heal up about a lot of this stuff. We could see some turrets start to fall here soon.
Yeah, looks like they are going to continue the action on here with 4 members of Coast in the mid. Down the bottom, Zion Spartan still up against the Azuki. And we kind of said it before, Renekton very, very tanky here in this situation, but he cannot shove Shyvana out of this lane. And Zion, he might, again, just start face tanking and doing damage to the turret that way. He'll eventually get it.
It's tricky pushing in these situations because Zion can't make a commit to that turret unless the minion wave in the middle is in the right spot. So he really wants to go in, but they all have to go together, otherwise they risk getting picked off.
And Yuzuki doing a very nice job with this wave as well, but there's the damage for Zion
Spartan. Damage.
Really chasing. He's actually going for it, it looks like here. A stun from Yuzuki going to move in the burnout, actually. Interestingly enough, just kind of annoying Renekton doing damage. He's going to get the inhibitor turret in the bottom lane.
Nicely done. There was no support that the team could help him with because they were too worried about the Baroned up team in the mid lane. Push successful.
If you lose this game as the Walking Zed, how hard is that, a loss? Such a long game potentially here. You're getting literally ground out by Coast here, by Zion Spartan, just continually wearing away at you. This is not a game that's going to be won super decisively, it seems like. This is a long slog here.
Exactly, and that was another Baron that was really just for a couple of turrets. Now, instead of it being the Walking Zed up 1 turret, it's Coast up 1 turret. And the gold lead, while it increased percentage-wise, it's about the same.
I mean, people talk about League of Legends as a game where the winner is the one who makes the fewest mistakes in the game. There's not that many been made by either team here, but very minute things have happened from the Walking Zed here. And Coast, they're in the lead, but still at this point, one big team fight's going to blow up this entire game.
Yeah, and we're nearing 6 items on all these guys. WizFusion is full 6 items. He could, at one point, sell his boots and go for another offensive item like a Zephyr, but that's a ways away. Bobby Yankill isn't quite there on Sivir. Neither of these AD carries are like super hyperscalers in the late game because the range is a little bit shorter than the Tristana or the Caitlyn's or the Jinx that you'd see that are really crazy with 6 items. Even so, they are monstrous threats.
And I love the playmaking from WizFusion. They have that option available to them. I mean, I didn't quite see it until we saw a couple of those really nice disengages, but his ult's actually excellent against the Walking Zed's comp, apart from Olaf.
Absolutely, and we also mentioned Intendude X's item build a little bit earlier, how he was going for the full offense. He switched up a little bit. Yeah, he's now full tank, and the Banshee's Veil, you know, the fact that they have 2 of them, I'm not 100% sure why they wouldn't go for the Spirit Visage because it's just the one spell block they're looking for. Maybe it's going to slow or stop that really critical slow from coming through if they're trying to get chased down. Other than that, it's a lot of cooldown reduction to give up. Yeah,
and again, we continue the movement throughout the map here. It's been so back and forth between these 2 teams the entire time here. The top lane turret, there the T2 looking a little low as Bishu's going to find Daedream, and he's going to have to get himself out of the way. Wants to find his team, does get out there. Saves his flash in there as well. Zion Spartan still down the bottom. Now this inhibitor is starting to get pressured now as well. This is a problem for the Walking Zed.
Yeah, he's just going to be able to walk right in here. There's no way Yuzuki gets him off this unless the rest of the Walking Zed comes back to help.
Looks like they are trying to come back here. Yuzuki going to start things off, popping the Dominus here. But Coast, how much pressure can they put out now as well? They're probably going to get the tier 2 turret here. Almost everybody from the Walking Zed's backing off. And Zion's pressure immense here. Coast get a free turret.
They're just abusing Zion Spartan's farm advantage and also late game scaling. Almost no matter what Yuzuki does at this point, he won't be able to stop Zion Spartan 1v1.
And I mean, if they send someone super important like Sivir who maybe can kill the tank, that could be really bad news for a team fight when it starts here. And Zion's going to stick here. Baron's up in 8 seconds now as well. We could see a fight for it now, 4v4 and Coast. They are getting sneaky.
Did they sweep all the wards this time? It doesn't look like the Walking Zed has any vision on where they're going. Maybe if they get their catch, this would be their way of turning the game, or the Walking Zed just has to give up the Baron to them.
Oh, they can see Kez there. They did sweep away the ward. Bichu going to check into the ball. Going to try and get their hooks on the Kez. The charm lands as well. Takes quite a bit of damage, but they're going to pop by their ults and reinitiate here as Daydreaming almost going to get snared up. He does go down here. Good Varusol, but it's kind of just been disengaged. And Thresh, he went somewhere magically. He flashed
over his box, and there's another catch on the Nintendude X. Yes, Zion Spartan got the inhibitor, but Coast is on the run.
Yeah, Coast have to back out, but that's fine. They're actually getting out safely here. Zion now kind of bullying Yuzuki back as our next in here as well. Maybe he can get a GA out of this here. He's confident in his ability to duel this out 1v1. Baron's still here, but a free inhib's always nice.
All things considered, it's another win for Coast. None of them died. They burned a couple of their ultimates, but so did the Walking Zed. And now that there's an inhibitor down, it means there's a full-time defender for the Walking Zed, regardless of if Zion Spartan is there as well. That's going to allow Coast to make some more plays.
Yep, I mean, Coast, though, every advantage they're taking is quite a small one here in this game.
So small. They're grinding this one out.
They really are. And again, this is one of those games as well, Jet, where just kind of from a psychological standpoint, if you win it, you feel amazing, and it crushes you if you lose.
Oh, especially with how long these guys have been waiting around. We started this, I'm not sure the exact time, but several hours ago. I'd like to say at least 6 hours ago. We're going with that one, and they're just now finishing their second game. So very big mental hurdles to overcome as well as the in-game ones.
And now Coast going to look for Baron once again. Here's Zion. Looks like he's actually going to join them, interestingly enough. And the sweepers not quite going. There's a ward sitting in the most obvious spot in front of Baron. And surely they're
so used to sweeping the unconventional spots that they forgot about the conventional ones. No, and they're Baroning right on top of a ward.
It's actually sitting right there as well. Zion is around though, and they do see the movement. So they're going to try and get out here, but Nidus main sped up. They're taking a big cocoon there to the face. Good hook as well to deny the reinitiation.
Baron hitting a little bit. Also, a Void Staff is completed onto Orianna. That's a lot of power. Let's see if Coast turns this. He has an opportunity.
Gonna try and catch on Zion Spartan. That's not the man you really want to kill. He gets out there as intended. Looking to flank Yuzuki, going straight in though. And Orianna shockwave hits with fusion. He cleanses out though. Cane of Corruption off in there as well as Bichu gets assassinated by Shifters. His GA is gonna fall. But Varus is down in intended. Fighting away into Bichu. Daydream and trying to find a hook and can't quite get the Shifter. Trying to get it done as well. But Zombie kill. He's picked him up. Now Daydreaming. He's in trouble as Kez moving in there as well. And Thresh can't land it himself out of Zion Spartan. He wants to fight this 1v5, but he can't. 3 clean kills moving through there for the Walking Zed, and this might be it, Chad.
Coast did not get anyone here. There's only 2 people alive, and the minion wave is in the right place for the Walking Zed, but minions are hitting their nexus.
The minions are going out the tower. They've taken one out already. We've got people pushing down here for Coast. They're going to go absolutely deep on this one, and it is base race time potentially here. Bichu is back already though, no GA. That Nexus turret's ridiculously low, and they're going to keep going in intended. Going to run defense here. Best he can, but Nidus Domain's back now as well. Zion Spartan very, very tanky on Shyvana, but I don't think he can pull an X-Pecker here. He is going to go down the exhaust moving through. Maybe he can get away.
It's over.
He's dead, and that's it. I think we're going to be done in the Walking Zed. A miracle game there in Coast. Tried so hard to clean them out. But at the end of the day, the Walking Zed grind out 53 minutes and 39 seconds of soul-crushing League of Legends.
And their souls would have been crushed if they wouldn't have came out on top that time. But you can see Bobby is super excited after that one. Fist bumps all around for the Walking Zed. They hung in there despite a really mean game plan from Coast trying to strangle them out. They slipped free and they got a win.
And Coast, to their credit, you can see them on their screen. They don't look too moved by this. They're okay, I think, but again, that's such a hard game to lose. What an epic game too there, Jet. We waited 2 hours for almost an hour affair. I think that was a good way to come back.
Wow, they weren't even up in gold by the time they won that one. They were still down 1,000, but when you're that far into a game, it doesn't have too big of an impact pastry time, and that just means it's kind of game on now. Best of 3.
Absolutely. I mean, the Walking Zed would have wanted to answer in this game here up against Coast, and now it's 1-1. We're going to get at least 2 more games of League of Legends, and I mean, what can we possibly take away from that game? Is it if Coast can't get ahead, they have trouble winning? Is that where we take it?
I'd say that Coast, I don't think we take that one. I think we just say that the Walking Zed adapted very well and that they're not collapsing under the pressure like we have seen a little bit from the promotion teams. Coast definitely has a fight on their hands. I'd say they need to be a little bit more late game focused in their compositions because they were really just hoping to pick people off and then just kind of snowball it like they did the first game. And when that didn't happen, they didn't have the actual 5v5 team fight ability to make plays. The Walking Zed played passive enough, they avoided getting caught, and that's really what swung it.
Yeah, so an epic game there between those two teams, vastly different from our first game, chat.
Oh, geez. First one was, what, 25 minutes?
Yeah. I mean, I think the pause in that game was longer than the game one we played.
You are correct.
And an epic way to continue on here. I have no idea what's going to happen now. I was worried that the Walking Zed, after that game one, would just kind of shut down and not show up. But they proved me wrong, that's for sure.
I know. That was a very real concern. I think even from the very start of that one, when they were able to invade the jungle, well, counter-invade the jungle, that was the first thing, like, yeah, this team's actually thinking. Because Coast did that in game one, in the same spot. So they may as well just all wait in that bush and hope for some Coast aggression. And they got it.
They did. So we've got to take a short break, but when we return, the Walking Zed can